So today on Monday Plant Series, we're going to talk about one that you probably have seen all the time, but you never knew that it was this plant, or you probably seen this plant thinking it was probably something else, but well, thinking it was probably another plant, and it really was this plant. So, and that plant today is Cuba, or pronounced like that. I have no clue how you even say that, so there's the spelling. But in but it's most commonly known as Cuba. And the reason I say some people might mistaken it for something else is because why are those going down? Is because it looks a lot like dwarf baby tears. Or there's a few others too. But when you look at something, when you look at this plant, a lot of people think it's dwarf baby tears, and it's it's actually a common plant that a lot of higher end planted tank people do. You know when you see those like really nice carpeted um aquariums, it's usually this plant. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like it's like easy or anything. I guess it is kind of cool though, and this might be a plant that I might be getting to. I'm just trying to decide on whether to do like which plant to do, this or baby tears, because I want to do a combination. I want to do I kind of want to do dwarf hairgrass. That's kind of a number one thing, and I kind of want to do that and another carpeted plant. Have like kind of two separate things going, but I don't know yet. But Cuba, basically, I kind of showed you already, but it looks like that, kind of like dwarf baby tears, but it comes in like little pots, or you can even get it tissue cultured. But I guess I could show you the shoot. Had this picture kind of loaded up. Get this. This is kind of example of this is kind of like the best really picture I found. But yeah, you can see really, I mean, what it looks like. But it's it's actually one of the smallest aquarium plants, meaning like kind of leaf size and all that. I don't know what the smallest is. I'll probably find that out after this, but the leaves on it are like kind of like millimeter sized round leaves. But when you get them, they come in like clumps, small little clumps. They're, I don't know, maybe like that big. I mean, depending on, obviously, it depends on how much you pay for on the amount you get. But obviously, they're from Cuba. I think that's where the name comes from. I don't know. That's probably wrong, but I'm assuming that. But obviously, as I've been saying, it's a carpeting plant. So it would go down as your foreground, kind of like what these are. And they'll create a nice carpet, kind of like what these have been doing, but this hasn't been like the most successful, but it has grown. Um, so this plant, some people say it's easy, and some people say it can be hard. So I'm just gonna kind of split in the middle in this title and say it's intermediate. We'll just call it even. But the height of this plant, or at least the length of how big you can get, it's kind of hard because a lot of people trim it, so they really don't know but if you let it grow out, I'm sure it can get 3 to 5 inches at the most. But when you keep it trimmed, most people just keep it kind of this height, like maybe and I mean, most people keep it very short. That's kind of the effect they go for. Not a lot of people grow stuff like that out. But lighting, it's a carpeting plant. It does need light, a lot of light, just like most carpeting plants do. Like, there's no carpet plant that's like a Nubius or Java fern. It's not like, oh, it could grow with not even with light. It's like it needs light. It's a 4-gallon plant. It needs a lot of light. You know, a lot of people say it needs a lot of light, a high-tech light, but depending on your height of your tank, it just depends. Like if you just have like the next tank I'm doing, the 20-gallon, it's like 15, 13 inches tall, depending. I forget how big it is, but I think it's like 15 high. Now that I think about it, but lights like the Finex 24/7, Kessels, obviously that's kind of your best option if you want to have a successful like growing anything. Or basically, I'm trying to say is if you want to have like the best plant tank ever, you Kessels are probably one of the better lights. They are even better lights out there, but they're very expensive. Kessels are going to cost you maybe 2, 3, 400, while while the other ones that I'm going to talk about, or I'm not really going to talk about them, but there's other lights out there that are ridiculously expensive, like $1,500 for a nano one, and like 4,000 for like a size for this tank. That are like insanely good, but nobody's ever gonna buy them. So everybody knows what Kessels are. So I would recommend those for really any high tech aquarium plant. But for this plant, any good light, a Finex, any Finex, you got the Fluval 2.0. You got, what else do you got? Really, if anything, if you have anything that's, this is what I do. There's watts on your light. So to have a medium kind of, in the middle light, a light that can really grow, a good amount of plants. I would say do about 2 watts per gallon, which, so if you wanted to have a medium to high tech plant tank for this tank, this is 40 gallons, so you do 2 times, that's 80 watts. That's kind of, you're not going to find like, a fixture like that's 80 watts. That's literally impossible. You'd have to go with really high tech light, but like Kessels, as I was saying, but if you do like a normal 20 gallon, like I'm gonna do, 40 watts, that ain't that bad. You're not gonna find a light that's like exactly perfect, but as long as if you if you have a good amount of substrate, and meaning the height of it, if you have a lot of substrate, and it's gonna grow. I'm not saying to go out there and buy a Kessel for, a 20 gallon. I mean, you can. It's way too much. But if you have like what I'm gonna buy, like a Finex 24/7 Plus, or the 24/7 Plus SE, any of those like really, really quality good ones, they should do just fine. It's just it's just the what's gonna affect this plant from growing good is having good substrate, which that could be ADA, that could be Eco Complete, whatever you use. Make sure it has nutrients in it. That's basically I would tell you. Just make sure it has nutrients. CO2, yes, you need CO2. It's gonna be probably your best option if you want to grow, a perfect carpet, but you're still gonna grow carpet even without CO2. Just make sure you dose fertilizers thin if you don't use CO2. Oh shoot. And what is there, like Aquarium Co-op sells all-in-one. I'm gonna end up buying that for this next tank, but Chem makes like a separate product for every single thing, like iron, magnesium, potassium, whatever you need for your plants to grow successfully. But yeah, that's, oh yeah, and then the propagation, or well, you can't really propagate them, but I guess you say get trimming or planting. What I would do is, you're gonna get clumps. I would say take your scissors, or if you have aquascaping tools, take your scissors and cut them into clumps, and cut them into clumps as small as, basically as many as clumps as you can get it into, and just plant it like a grid. And so kind of like evenly spread them, like maybe like one right here, one right here, one right here, one right here, right here. And if you have like just a regular, rectangle plant, rectangle tank or square, kind of get that perfect grid going, evenly splice them. And obviously the bigger the clumps, the faster you're going to get a carpet, but you evenly distribute them, and you should have no problems getting a good carpet in. But propagating them, you can't really propagate it's kind of hard to with carpeting plants. Like S repens, it's not like I can cut the top off and propagate it. It's not saying you can't do that. I mean, you definitely can. I mean, you could definitely like rip one eggs out and cut them in half and replant them, but it's just carpeting plants. I don't really recommend propagating them. It's not like a Nubius where we can cut them in half, or Java Fern, same thing. But just leave them alone. I've had this piece back here that got propagated. It got buried down there, and now it's actually growing. I don't know if you guys can even see if I can zoom in. I don't know how well that's coming up on the camera, but you can see it has a lot of leaves. It was not that big. It's actually growing. So eventually I'll probably have like a big bush of S. repens back. Oh shoot. I'll probably eventually have a big bush of S. repens like in a year back there, but I'm just leaving it there. Might as well keep it there. But yeah, I guess that's basically it. If you guys want to recommend a plant for next week, if you do, the first person to recommend a plant for next week that we haven't done will get a shout out, and we'll do their plant. Same thing for the fish species. Somebody already did this week, so they're gonna get their shout out, get their fish, talked about. And basically, if you have anything recommended and we make a video about it, you will get a shout out. So, kind of a free shout out if you want to recommend anything. Obviously, just when it comes to plants, do something we haven't done. Do something that's kind of, maybe something different. Same as fish. We're doing hatchet fish Wednesday, so that's kind of different. I kind of liked it. The recommendation aquarium co-op, not aquarium not co-op, but cop recommended, but we'll be doing that Wednesday. But yeah, I don't want to make this video forever long, but comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.